Ms. Wagner, who is my friend, for her opening statement.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, I want to thank our witnesses for taking the time to testify before the committee today. While I understand this subcommittee has held hearings on this issue, I would also like to highlight issues affecting minority communities in the present, and that is inflation. Right now, the cost of goods is rising at a faster pace than the rate of wage growth, and people are being forced to put a larger portion of their paychecks towards necessities to make ends meet. Studies show that inflation is disproportionately more difficult to bear for lower income and minority households. Last week, during our full committee hearing on the ties between housing and inflation, we saw that many households throughout the country are limited by rent, by home buying, or by home buying power. Let me just, I could pause for one moment, please. In many ways, the focus is on how our history has impacted the racial wealth gap and how Congress can help reduce burdens placed on lower income and minority communities. This cannot be achieved as a one-size-fits-all approach. As we have seen in the response to the majority's June 6th letter to the nation's top 10 banks and insurance companies, many respondents have implemented plans to address racial equity throughout the communities that they serve. This is a complex issue and one we must take very seriously so that all Americans can achieve economic prosperity. When we have seen instances of racial wealth gap, the promotion of strong and consistent economic growth has helped to reduce the gap by enhancing Americans' purchasing power and ensuring that government intervention doesn't increase the gap while attempting to find a solution. In the 8 months since that first hearing, one aspect of the economy that continues to disproportionately and negatively affect underserved and minority communities throughout this country is a continued high inflation rate. At the time of the first hearing, the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, reported that in February, inflation rose to a rate of 7.9%. In the months following, Americans were faced with a summer of rising costs and consistent inflation that peaked at 9.1% in June and remained well above 8% until October. Today, the Consumer Price Index still stands at a crippling 7.7%. More recently, the Farm Bureau estimated that America's families spent 20% more just a couple of weeks ago on Thanksgiving dinners than they did last year. Underserved, minority, rural, and low and moderate income communities across the country are facing the brunt of this inflation, using more and more of their paychecks on critical necessities and becoming less able to direct their income toward creating a secure financial future. In June, the New York Fed issued a report that confirmed that inflation disproportionately impacts Black and Hispanic Americans more than any other communities. Individuals who have lower incomes and historically have been able to build wealth do not have the same safety net as individuals with higher incomes or substantial savings. This makes combating the negative effects of inflation that much harder, because these factors, among others, inflation, will do nothing more than continue to increase the racial wealth gap. As Americans continue to head to the grocery stores, the gas pumps, and the stores during the upcoming Christmas season, they see their purchasing power is much less than it was. Congress needs to take immediate action to curtail this inflation and let these communities know we are focused on building a strong economy that they can thrive in. Fixing supply chains, supporting domestic energy production, and stopping reckless government spending can be a positive start to the deflationary effects that these families so desperately need. I thank the chairman, and I yield back the balance of my time.